I need you to listen to me very carefully right now. What I am about to tell you is something I wish someone had told me 3 years ago. It would have saved me 6 hours of lying on a cold bathroom floor wondering if I was going to die alone. My name does not matter. What matters is that I am 76 years old and I survived a stroke. Not because I was lucky. Not because my neighbor heard something. I survived because of specific things I did in the moments before my body stopped cooperating. And one of those things I figured out on the bathroom floor with one working hand and a brain that was misfiring. If I had not figured it out, the paramedics would have found a body instead of a patient. I am going to tell you everything. Every detail. Every mistake I almost made. Because the version of this story that doctors and hospitals tell you is missing the most important parts. They give you the acronym. They give you the pamphlet. They send you home thinking you're prepared. You are not prepared. I was not prepared. And I was a retired nurse for 31 years. Let me start at the beginning. It was a Wednesday morning in March. I had been feeling slightly off for 2 days, not sick, just off. A quiet heaviness behind my right eye. Like mild pressure from reading too long. I told myself it was dehydration. I told myself it was the weather changing. I told myself 100 small lies. That is the first thing I want you to understand. Strokes do not always announce themselves loudly. Sometimes a stroke whispers at you for 2 days before it shouts. I was in my bathroom brushing my teeth when the shouting started. The first thing I noticed was my vision. The right side of everything I was looking at simply disappeared. Not blurry, not dark. Just gone. Like someone had folded the right half of the world away. I grabbed the sink. I remember thinking the light bulb had blown. Then I tried to speak. I wanted to say something out loud to myself, the way you do when you're frightened. Nothing came out right. The words were there in my head, but between my brain and my mouth something had broken. What came out sounded like a person trying to speak underwater. I looked in the mirror. The left side of my face was completely normal. The right side had dropped. Not dramatically like the pictures they show you, subtly. Like my face had simply gotten very tired on one side. My right arm felt like it belonged to someone else, heavy. Disconnected. Like a piece of luggage I was being asked to carry. And then my legs went. Not completely. Just unreliable. Like standing on a boat. I slid down the side of the cabinet and I sat on the bathroom floor. And here is where most people make the mistake that costs them everything. My brain, even as it was misfiring, started negotiating with me. It said maybe this is a dizzy spell. It said maybe you stood up too fast. It said wait 5 minutes and see. If I had waited 5 minutes, I would have lost the ability to call anyone at all. Because a stroke is a brain attack. A blood vessel has burst or blocked. Every single minute that passes, brain tissue is dying. Neurons that took a lifetime to build are going dark one by one. Doctors have a phrase for this. Time is brain. It is not a metaphor. It is a biological countdown. I knew this. 31 years as a nurse, and I still almost talked myself out of calling for help. That is how powerful the denial instinct is. Even in people who know better. I reached for the edge of the cabinet with my left hand, the one that still worked, and I pulled my phone off the counter. It fell. It landed face down 2 feet away from me. I want you to feel that moment. Phone on the floor. Right arm useless. Left arm shaking. I crawled to it. I am a 76-year-old woman, and I crawled across my bathroom floor to reach my phone. I picked it up. The screen was cracked, but it still worked. And I did something that saved my life. I did not try to type. Typing was already beyond me. I pressed the home button and I spoke. Or I tried to speak. What came out was broken, garbled. A sound that was not quite language. But I said it clearly in my mind, .9.1.1. And the phone understood. Hey Siri, call 911. That was all I had to do. The dispatcher came on. She asked me what my emergency was. I could not speak properly, but I could make sound. I made sound. I kept the line open. She heard the quality of what was coming through, and she immediately flagged it as a neurological emergency. She stayed on the line with me. She kept talking even when I could not answer. I want to stop here because this is important. If you cannot speak during an emergency, do not hang up. Stay on the line. Make any sound. Breathe into the phone. Knock the phone against the floor. Dispatchers are trained for this. A silent open line from a senior home triggers an automatic wellness check. Do not hang up thinking you have failed to communicate. Staying on that line was the second thing that saved my life. Now I was on the floor with the line open. And I had to make a decision. My front door was locked. Deadbolt and chain. I knew the paramedics were coming. I knew they would not be able to get in. In a stroke, every minute without treatment costs you approximately 2 million brain cells. The time it takes EMTs to break down a reinforced door in a residential building is between 4 and 7 minutes. That is somewhere between 8 and 14 million brain cells. That is the difference between walking out of a hospital and leaving in a wheelchair. I had to get to the front door. I had to unlock it. Here is what I want you to understand about that moment. I could not walk reliably. My vision was compromised. My right side was not fully responding. And I had to travel approximately 30 feet from my bathroom to my front door. I did not walk. I did not crawl the whole way. I used the wall. I put my left hand flat against the wall, and I moved along it sideways like a crab. Every few feet I stopped and I assessed. Is the phone still connected? Yes. Am I still conscious? Yes. Keep moving. I fell once. My unreliable legs gave out near the hallway, and I went down on my left knee. I got back up. I kept moving. I reached the door. I disengaged the chain with my left hand. I turned the deadbolt with my left hand. I opened the door for inches, and I sat down against the wall next to it. And then I did the third thing that I believe protected my brain in those minutes of waiting. I did not panic. I made a choice not to panic. This is harder than it sounds. My brain was under attack, and it was generating fear signals at an extraordinary rate. But I knew from 31 years of nursing what panic does to a brain in crisis. It elevates blood pressure. It accelerates the progression of the bleed or the clot. It is the exact opposite of what a damaged brain needs in that moment. So I closed my eyes and I breathed. In for 4. Out for 6. Slow and deliberate. I said to myself out loud, in my broken approximation of speech, the words help is coming. Not as a prayer. As a fact. I had made the call. The door was open. Help was coming, and I sat against that wall, and I became as still and as calm as I could make myself. I want to talk about what I was feeling physically in those minutes because nobody ever describes this part. The right side of my face felt like Novocaine that had not fully worn off after a dental visit. My vision on the right was still absent. Not painful, just missing, like a blank space. My thoughts were there, but they moved differently, slower, like trying to think through deep water. I was aware of everything round me, but processing it required effort that normally requires none. The dispatcher was still talking to me. I could hear her clearly even though I could not respond clearly. She told me the ambulance was 4 minutes away. She told me to stay still. She told me I was doing well. She did not know that her voice was the only thing anchoring me to the decision to stay calm. 12 minutes after I made the call, they came through my open door. They found a 76-year-old woman sitting against a wall, conscious, door open, phone in hand. The lead paramedic told me later that when they receive a call with an open line and no coherent speech, they prepare for the worst. He said I was one of the most composed stroke patients he had encountered at point of arrival. I was not composed. I was terrified. I was just terrified quietly. They assessed me immediately. Confirmed stroke symptoms. Began treatment in the ambulance. I received a clot-dissolving treatment called TPA within 58 minutes of my first symptom. The window for TPA is 4.5 hours from symptom onset. I made it with hours to spare. My neurologist told me 3 days later that the speed of my response had preserved the majority of my language function. I had a mild permanent deficit in peripheral vision on my right side. Everything else came back. I walked out of that hospital 12 days later. I am talking to you right now. Now I need to tell you about the fast test. Because this is the Miss Bomb. Every doctor, every pamphlet, every health campaign tells you fast. Face, arms, speech, time. It is not wrong. But it is dangerously incomplete. Research shows that up to 40% of strokes present with none of those four classic signs initially. Posterior strokes, the ones affecting the back of the brain, often begin with vision changes, sudden dizziness, and severe unexplained headache. No facial drooping. No arm weakness. Nothing the fast test would catch. My stroke began with a vision change and garbled speech. No face drooping for the first several minutes. If I had been waiting for the face drooping to confirm it was real, I would have waited too long. The expanded version is called BFast. Balance problems. Eyes. Face. Arms. Speech. Time. Add balance and vision to what you watch for. That is the difference between catching a posterior stroke and missing it entirely. So here is what I want you to do after you finish watching this. Write these down. Put them somewhere you will see them. 1. Any sudden vision change in one eye or one side is a neurological emergency until proven otherwise. 2. If you cannot speak properly and you know your thoughts are intact, that gap is a stroke symptom. 3. Call 911 immediately. Do not text. Do not call a family member first. Call 911 first. 4. Stay on the line even if you cannot speak. Make any sound. Keep that line open. 5. Get to your front door. And lock it, open it. Then sit down against the wall. Do not use your energy on anything else. 6. Do not take aspirin. This is different from a heart attack. Some strokes are caused by bleeding, and aspirin will make a bleeding stroke catastrophically worse. 7. Breathe slowly. 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out. Slow your heart rate. Protect the brain tissue you still have. I spent 12 days in hospital and 4 months in outpatient therapy. I learned to process language at speed again. I learned to compensate for the peripheral vision I lost. I am 76 years old, and I am standing here telling you this because I crawled across a bathroom floor and picked up a phone. Not because I was brave. Because I refused to negotiate with the part of my brain that wanted to wait and see. The window is small. The brain is fragile. And nobody is coming unless you make them come. Know the signs. Know the steps. Do not wait. Watch your pulse. While you still can.